Alrighty, we got journalist calls for games industry to stand up to gamers. Oh my god, gamers are the enemy of the state. Oh,
I am sick and tired of people pretending like there's not a problem. They see it, they recognize it, they know it's there, but for whatever reason, they just
what the problem? What the problem, dude?
will not talk about it. Over the last few years, there's been a growing divide between players, developers, and journalists, and it's only getting worse. Recently, an article popped up from the
Me personally, I've never really been paying attention to journalists. Like, I used to, back in the day where Game Informer was a thing, well, more of a thing than it is today, where, like, the internet wasn't as prevalent as it is now. I mean, at least for me. I got all my reviews from, like, Game Informer, and I would, like, get my monthly little thing and comb through the whole magazine and look at all the reviews and so on and so forth. And I actually enjoyed that for a couple years. But, I don't know, just over time, journalists, I just don't pay attention to them anymore. I think it was something I needed to depend on when I was a little kid. But since getting older, I just don't depend on it as much.
Guardian, where the writer in question calls for the gaming industry to make a stand against the players, to speak on behalf of the journalists, the critics, and everyone else, citing...
What? Who is doing this? This is like so weird to me. Like, there's the game developer and the player. And then there's this like little guy in the corner. It's like, where the critic, where it's like, bro, who the fuck are you?
That they see signs of disturbing misogyny. I realize that this is a hot button topic. This is a controversial issue.
Misogyny
and more times than not,
in
when
games.
people cover this, they're covering it from the extremes. And I'm going to be talking about it, and I'm bringing the most dangerous position into this conversation, which is the voice that often goes unheard. The voice of the sane. Former head of Kotaku, Kenza McDonald of The Guardian, writes,
Okay, so I don't know who anybody is. All these names are just over my head.
Disturbing online misogyny of Gamergate has returned, if it ever went away. While some of their language has changed, the sentiment of the latest aggressive movement is just as distressing. It is time for the games industry to stand up to it. She continues with, a few months ago I wrote about a consulting agency, Sweet Baby Incorporated, that found itself in the center of a conspiracy theory. Aggrieved gamers on a Steam forum had erroneously concluded that a small agency was somehow mandating the inclusion of more diverse characters in games.
What? What? Aggrieved gamers on a Steam forum had erroneously concluded that the small agency was somehow mandating the inclusion of more diverse characters in games. Depressingly, but unsurprisingly, the result... Bro, so I have no idea how these consultation companies work, because there's more companies besides Sweet Baby Inc. that do the same thing as Sweet Baby Inc. Like, conceptually, you know, what they're doing is, like, okay, but so much to the point where it just, like, any character that they try to, I don't know, give advice on, it could just completely loses, like, all value depending on, like, the setting of the game. I think that's what it really is. Like, yes, you can expect to see, like, certain characters in certain environments, or if I don't know, like in Assassin's Creed fucking Shadows, like I'm fine with, like, the woman being, like, the ninja. Like, I could care less about that part. But it's like, it's obvious that when they chose what was it, Yasuke to be, like, the samurai bro, it's obvious to me that they had to comb every last snippet of history so they could shoehorn a black guy in there.
Depressingly, but unsurprisingly, the result was a tremendous amount of targeted harassment towards the people that work at Sweet Baby and every journalist who reported on it, particularly women. It was a disturbing echo of Gamergate, an online harassment campaign 10 years ago that initially sprung up from the wild accusations of a game developer's vindictive ex-boyfriend. The language has changed a bit in the past decade. They used to be upset about SJWs, or social justice warriors, and now they've taken issue with a different acronym. DEI.
Oh.
Diversity, equality, and inclusion, or just good old woke.
Yeah.
But the sentiment from this group is the same. Games are for us, only for us, and if you want games to change or tell stories outside of the straightforward, male-oriented power fantasies that we grew up with, well, that's not allowed. We won't stand for it. In fact, we will try to aggressively harass you out of the space entirely.
That's crazy that this is like what these consultation companies are doing. And it's like, bro, like I have never seen to date like a game company that employed these consultation companies and actually came out on top. I have yet to see a game do that. And like I am still sitting here wondering, why are game companies even like trying to figure out like inviting these people onto their game? How are you gonna mandate something that you how are you gonna try to mandate a game company to put in like characters that don't belong there? That's so weird to me.
Unfortunately, the anti-woke campaigning
It's like all you're doing is you're just asking for somebody's opinion, and then you, the game developer, are choosing whether or not to like change your actions based off of that opinion. You know, to like add or subtract a character based off of what you were consulted with. It's like, oh no, you took our consultation, you took our advice, now you have to do what we said. That's just so weird to me.
has not lit up much in the intervening months. Led by a coterie of the usual grifters, they have taken issue with, in no particular order, the fact that Aphrodite, the literal goddess of love, is not hot enough in Supergiant's Hades 2. That female characters in recent game trailers all have square jaws and masculine bodies.
Yeah, that's honestly, like, that's bullshit. And it's like, it's so petty to say that, but when I see stuff like that, I am just so bored and disinterested. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I'll just let that game go. Like, I don't even have to say anything. Like, it's that easy for me, like, as a gamer, to just simply not, like, do anything. To just see something, like, I don't have to, like, give my opinion on it. I'll just be like, oh, I either will or I will not spend my money on that game. I mean, I'm obviously doing it now, you know, commenting on like Legendary Drop's video, but like that's literally my thought process. Like, oh, that's like a cool looking character. I will or will not play it. Or like honestly, a lot of the times when I played like female characters in games, they were all hot. Tomb Raider, Nier Automata, like Stellar Blade. Surprise. And it's not just guys that like hot characters. It's girls too. Girls want to play hot characters too. This isn't news. All of this, video games, all of this is fantasy. I don't care how it's fucking depicted based on reality. It's not reality. It's a video game. All right? Because, and I'll say this, I don't know why video games are catching, or like not only video games, but movies and TV shows, just in general, are also catching all of the flack for all of this. All of this. You could like lump it in as like entertainment. You know who's not catching any of this? Books. Like just to a lesser degree, like graphic novels. Where's all this same energy towards books and graphic novels and anime and manga and all that shit? Where's that same energy for all of that? All right? I mean, come on. Why are you like pigeonholing video games and movies it doesn't make sense to me. Like, you're not being consistent in like all your values. You're just like simply choosing an industry just because it's a lucrative industry. Video games, movies, and TV shows, they all involve, what, like multiple senses. Your eyes. Oh, you see the thing. With video games, there's tactile. You have to act and react to things. Ooh, okay. There's like no fucking smell or taste or whatever. There's sounds that go along with all of those things. Video games, movies, and whatnot. Oh, they sound feminine. They sound masculine. This or that. Okay. Where it just so happens that books are literally immune to this, because all they can do, like, well, number one, books, there's only, essentially one chef in the kitchen. Like, maybe like the original creator and like maybe an editor. They'll like just bounce ideas back and forth. Like, oh, I'll change this. I'll do this. There's like at max like 2 cooks in the kitchen. All right. Video games, movies, TV shows. There's so many cooks in the kitchen. Okay. And what? You have to, with books, all you have to do is just read the words. God forbid the female character have a sentence that comes in after it of like, oh, her body looks like an hourglass, or her jawline was feminine, or something, or her high-pitched voice, or whatever. Okay, God forbid those words get put into or written or typed out into a sentence after like the introduction of like a new feminine character. These like consultation companies couldn't fathom like these. They find these words like so like offensive.
That journalists gave the recent PS5 game Stellar Blade bad reviews because its female characters were too hot. That too many games feature DEI haircuts, and that Ubisoft was somehow forced by shadowy forces of wokery to make the main character in its upcoming Assassin's Creed game a black samurai.
Well, like the whole thing with the Assassin's Creed is like there's 2 main characters. You got the girl ninja and then the dude samurai.
Historical evidence. This last claim was bolstered by the king.
But like obviously they had to comb through like every single solitary piece of history to find that, oh, Yasuke was what was he? He was like not a samurai, but like a squire, like what a squire is to a knight. He was like that version, that title to like an actual samurai. I forgot what exactly the title name was, but like in the game they just were like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll just make him a samurai because whatever. It's like they're just bending history, and it's even true because they even changed the Wikipedia entry for Yasuke shortly after they introduced the trailer. So yeah.
King of bad posters himself, Elon Musk, who replied to a tweet about this manufactured outrage with DEI kills art. Man, there is a lot that was said here. First thing I'm going to say is this. The closer in proximity to an issue that you are, the less perspective that you have on it. Think about it. When you're right up on top of it, the only thing that you can see is the opposition. What they're saying, what they're thinking, what they want to do, what they think about you. And as such, you're always on the offense or the defense. And that goes for both sides of these kind of discussions.
Oh, yeah.
And I think what really highlights that loss in perspective is how they bring up Gamergate in this article. Because
me personally, like, I have no idea what the fuck Gamergate was. This happened before I got like a computer, and let me see if I can do a quick see. What was Gamergate? Harassment campaign. Gamergate blah, 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 was loosely organized misogynistic online harassment campaign and a right-wing backlash against feminism, diversity, and progressivism in video game culture. It was conducted using a hashtag Gamergate, primarily in 2014-15. Gamergate targeted women in the video game industry, most notably feminist media critic Anita Sarkeesian and video game developers. That lady, I don't want to assume their gender, this person and that person. Gamergate, what the okay. Proponents has been described as a culture war over diversification, artistic recognition, in video games, social criticism. Okay, so it's essentially the same thing like what we're going through right now. Okay. It was just like a, oh Jesus, coordination of harassment. Jesus. Okay. So what? Everybody thinks Gamergate 2 is going on right now.
From my perspective, as somebody that had nothing to do with it whatsoever, I wasn't even making videos on video games at the time.
Yeah.
I read a couple articles, watched a couple videos, and I always viewed it as players waking up to the realization that there could be some conflicts of interest within the industry that are working against and doing a disservice to the consumer. Why wouldn't they think that? When every other industry that's out there has some level of corruption, why would it be so far off for players to believe that video game studios and publishers are colluding with journalists and critics to make sure that their games are shown in a better light?
Yeah. That's what's been happening. You know, especially with like the AAA games, AAA companies, you know, all those favorite IPs that you used to like as a little kid, and then all of a sudden they got too big, or, you know, maybe a company bought them and then forced them to do a game that they weren't good at, and the game like came out in like a buggy state, and then because of that, the entire studio had to get dropped, so on and so forth. And yeah, I mean, that's why you have the difference between like a critic review and an audience review. Like, what am I gonna trust? The fucking rando ass fucking critic that like just played the game on easy mode and just sped through the main story to try to get it out as quickly as humanly possible for clicks and views? It's like, no, that's fucking stupid. But here's the thing, like video game reviews and journalism wasn't I think it was different from movie reviews. It was like back in the day, who was it, Siskel and Ebert, or Ebert and Roper? It was like one of the two. Was it Siskel and Ebert? I think it was like first Siskel and Ebert, and then it was Roger and Ebert, or Roper and Ebert. Like those guys. Though I remember those guys were the movie review guys, because, you know, they watched the movie in its entirety, and they've watched a lot of movies in their entirety, and maybe even like maybe 2 or 3 times over before they even gave the review. And I think those guys were doing a good job for like movies back in the day. You know, their review came out in the like the little newspaper. It was out in the article, and like you trusted those guys because they, you know, they watched a lot of fucking movies. They didn't speed run the movie. You know, when they're there to review a movie, you're like 100% focused. So it's not like every industry has had like a bad past. It's just a battle for fucking views, man. It's a battle for fucking views online, dude.
Especially when so much money's riding on the line to begin with. And I think that Gamergate was something that actually did a solid service to the players, because they woke up to that realization. They're a little bit more cautious with their spending. They don't take review scores at face value and say, there we go, I guess I'm going to go ahead and buy this game. They're a little bit more cautious with it. They want more information. They don't want to just see a cutscene trailer. They want to see gameplay. They don't want to see gameplay in like 3 minutes. No, they want to see 15, 20, 30-minute clips. Heck, they want to watch somebody play the game for a few
that's the bet. If you're
hours before.
If you're like a game developer and you're wondering how to market your game, just show gameplay. Look what Black Myth Wukong did. They show gameplay. Everyone's like, oh, that gameplay looks awesome. Look at Phantom Blade Zero. There's like a little 15-minute gameplay thing on YouTube. Oh my god, that game looks awesome. Just show your gameplay. And honestly, that's the hardest part, is trying to come up with like some crispy, good flowing gameplay for your game. Not gonna lie, it's hard. But that's the best marketing. Nobody cares about your dopey ass cutscene that's been rendering for fucking like a month in the fucking computer. No one cares about that.
Before they want to buy that game. And I think a lot of that is coming from what had happened back then. And man, you know, it just goes to prove that these sides that are so opposing to one another, they're of the exact same polarity, because they both sound the exact same when you start paying attention to them from a much wider angle. And they're like dogs that are barking on either side of a fence, and they're getting further and further away. They could cross behind the fence, by the way. That's open on the other side, but they don't want to have that kind of discussion.
Oh my god, that's a great analogy right there. But I mean, but yeah, dude. I mean, you could have said it better. Uh, I mean, how I go about like trying to figure out whether or not I will buy a game has changed so much because when I was a little kid, honestly, honest to God, I was wanting to play everything that my friends played, regardless of whether or not I was good or bad at it. I just wanted to play what my friends played, and that's it. And then as I got older, a little bit, like maybe teenage years, I started to develop my own taste. And then I started to pay attention to reviews, Game Informer and such. And then after that, I mean, how did I try to figure out whether or not I would buy a game? I don't even fucking know. Like I would just buy games to, a game would come out and it would be shown on a commercial or something, like, oh, it was on TV. Let me see that, because TV was cool back in the day. I don't even have a fucking TV in my room. The only TV is like out in the living room, and that doesn't even have like cable anymore. It's just like 5 zillion paid stream services.
And what ends up happening is they start trampling on and drowning out the genuine concerns and the voices of the people that are in the middle. And that's often where the truth ends up lying. And there are issues that are in the games industry today that she's glossing over. And the proof is just how she brings up some of the games that are out there, especially talking about Hades 2 or Stellar Blade and the backlash that came with some of those games.
From my understanding, the Hades brand and Stellar Blade, which is like a new IP, both of those are like gameplay games. It's like action combat and roguelike. Hades 1 did awesome. Like infinite replayability, roguelite, got like your infinite little progressive system, a bunch of different weapons, a bunch of different little power-ups you can mix match to play to your heart's content and just go.
You have to ask, why are players agreeing with this? Don't believe that everybody agreeing with it is just these crazy bigots and wild folks that are out there. No, there's other people in the middle that are agreeing with them as well. And why is that? But nobody wants to pay attention to that. For some odd reason, when there's a culture war, there can only be one winner.
Yeah.
People in the middle can't actually exist.
No.
But for me,
no, the people in the middle are the ones that are taking the brunt of everything. They're like listening to one side, they're listening to the other side, and they're just like, bro, am I a fucking racist? If I buy this game, am I not a racist? If I don't buy the game, is this have good gameplay? Is this not good enough gameplay? Is this good? Is this bad? It's like a regular ass person that is not like plugged into the internet has no idea.
I say fuck that. I'm going to clearly state my position. Games should be, and the vast majority of times are, inclusive. But at the exact same time, we can't pretend like we're okay with the industry heavily leaning into inclusivity for profit.
Perfectly said. Perfectly said, dude. I mean, I could care less like how many DEI characters are just shoehorned into a game as long as the story is like based around it and there's nothing like forced. I'm fucking fine with it, dude. I could care less. I like gameplay over everything, and I hope that Assassin's Creed Shadows has some baller ass gameplay because I want to get proven wrong.
It's blatant and it's plastered everywhere. Movies, TV, gaming, it's overwhelming. Co-opting identities and gender not for the sake of art, quality, and ethics, but for money and personal preservation. Why do companies change their logos to rainbows in the US and EU during Pride, but keep it their standard logo in other countries?
Ooh, he calling out the companies. It's because the companies are trying to appeal to the most amount of people. Companies do not care about all of these stupid social issues like they think people do. They want to appeal to everybody for their brand. That's why you have companies like Disney that when they ship their movie over to like other countries, to like China, they have to cover up the dude's face in Black Panther. They have to shrink down some of the black characters in Star Wars to show the movie over in China. All right? Where's all your morals defending all these companies now?
Why are different races and genders minimized or removed in games, movies, and television in China? It's because none of these companies care about you. They care about what's in your wallet. And that goes for both sides of this debate. Truth of the matter is, these companies will do anything for money.
Mm-hmm.
And the real unease, the real issues at play, is that the biggest players in the industry are trying to wrangle everyone into one single audience, and it's causing a lot of issues. Extreme positions can't gain any traction unless there are those in the middle who can see truth on one side's opinion. Forced DEI is killing games. However, it's not for any of the reasons that anybody is saying right now. And instead, it's being co-opted into part of a culture war, and that's being done on purpose by these creators. It's the intended outcome. What nobody is talking about is why are players seeing female protagonists and a diverse cast of characters and immediately assuming that that game will be bad. It's because players have begun to perceive wokeness in games as a bad thing, not because of the inclusivity itself, but because of its perceived lack in quality.
That's literally it. That's literally it, dude. When I see some like weird characters or whatever, I'm just like, hopefully the game is good. I would like to play it. Maybe I'll just wait for some of my favorite influencers to play the game first, so I don't have to waste my money. And then let me know how it is. I'll go off the fucking audience score, dude. I'll wait for a week or two or a month after the game comes out. And until like everybody has played the game. I want to hear the people that have played the game 100% to get their opinions on whether or not it's like worth a damn. But if you do a little, just the smallest appeal to history, how many of these woke games have like topped the charts in terms of like story or gameplay or whatever?
Almost every television show, movie, and game today, pre and post release, that runs around doing interviews and press releases about how inclusive their media is, ends up being a dumpster fire of a final product because the creators are so focused on the identities rather than the qualities. The poor quality.
Ooh, identities of the people versus the qualities of them. I think that's a really, that's like really important because identities are polarizing and qualities are indifferent. Any person on the face of the earth can exude a quality. And that's what I think makes characters like good characters. What are their actions? What are their thoughts? What are they going to do? Not how they look, not how they choose to look, not what their pronouns are, not who they choose to sleep with. All right, that stuff is like not as important as the quality of their character. What do you stand for?
In various media today is now being represented by the characters that these studios are putting into these games. As such, these creators are quite literally training people to believe that diversity and inclusivity are what are ruining games, not bad design and poor writing.
It's exactly bad design and poor writing, dude. It's exactly bad design and poor writing. Honestly, if all of these consultation companies could like do a little time skip, like for like maybe 5 or 10 years to be more like quality driven for their characters and less identity driven, I think these consultation companies could do better. 100%.
Inclusivity and representation are great things. Anyone can agree on that. However, bad representation for the sake of it just being there, either for virtue signaling or marketing purposes, puts a face, a signifier on what is ruining games in the eyes of players. They are creating targets. When I see a developer feel the need to virtue signal about how great it is that they put a woman into their video game or how they made a character gay, it shows me that they have no confidence in the work itself.
Oh, that is cool. Like one of the reasons like Lara Croft was so cool is because she's like curious, adventurous. She is a badass. She's just like a badass character.
It's all about the identity of the character and not the qualities of that character's design. The quality of the story that's told and the innovation that it brings to the game's experience. I assume that it's not high quality, and most times it's not. Journalists, developers, and players then jump to defend the practice, not realizing that these creators are using social issues as a shield of inclusivity to defend their poor quality, lack of skill, lack of ability, and lack of creativity.
Yeah, it's a skill issue. That's literally it. It's a damn skill issue. Like, everybody would be perfectly fine with all these characters if they were fucking interesting. It just so happens a lot of these characters are just so uninteresting.
By saying that anybody who's criticizing them are bigots. Checkmate. What's really disappointing is that there's not enough people that are calling this out, saying it for what it is, that it's not wokeness or DEI that's killing these games, it's people without talent that are killing these games. Name a game that was perceived as woke, that had awesome gameplay and a great story, and nobody wanted to play it, and it didn't do well in sales. Guess what? You can't find it. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 16 portrayed a relationship between Dion and Sir Terrence. It was tasteful, it was well done, the story was great, the gameplay was awesome, the music was absolutely banging in that game. Guess what? Zero backlash. Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Baldur's Gate 3, you had the love interest of a druid and like an elf. The druid turned into a bear and wanted to get down with the elf bro. I think. I don't know.
Herald is one of the greatest RPGs of all time. A game that many players have pointed to and said, this is the game. Why can't you guys make games like this anymore?
You know what's funny is like the whole like the bear meme like of women like, oh, what do you want to spend your time with? If you go into the woods, like a man or a bear, and they all choose like the bear. It's like I look back at Baldur's Gate 3 and it's like, damn, even men want to get with a bear. There's another man in the woods. I don't know why I just thought of that.
The most aggressively buy game that's on the entire market. No backlash.
Yeah.
It's really disappointing that people like the folks that are writing this article right now that are involved in a lot of these communities aren't the ones.
And even what's that other game? Fucking Dragon Age. All the old Dragon Ages had a ton of that shit in it, and it was good. Well, not so much for Dragon Age 2, that was like a dumpster fire, but like the first and the Inquisition, those are pretty good.
Ones that are out there that are fighting on their side, that aren't talking about how some of these companies are out there co-opting people's identities and races for the use of profit and for the use of protecting their own jobs, shielding themselves from criticism behind a shield of inclusivity. They're the ones that are ruining games. People that don't have a creative cell in their entire body.
Damn. And they're still getting paid, so what the hell am I doing with my life?
The article continues with, Assassin's Creed Shadows producer Mark Alexis Cote addressed Musk's tweet in an interview with GameFile's Stefan Totilo last week. It's sad he's just feeding hatred. I had a lot of three-word replies that came to mind, he said. The first thing I wanted to do was go back on X that I had deleted and just tweet back.
Mm-hmm.
What Elon says is not the game that we're building. People will have to play the game for themselves, and if within the first 11 minutes and 47 seconds they aren't convinced of what we are doing, we can have the discussion. For the record, there is plenty of historical basis for the depiction of Black Samurai Yasuke in the game.
What? What? There's plenty of historical basis for the depiction of Black Samurai Yasuke in the game. Oh, okay, so they're talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows. Bro, it was like, he's like the first like foreigner samurai, and he didn't even get like the official samurai title. Like, what? I mean, I'm not necessarily looking to Assassin's Creed for like the most historically accurate depiction of history, because in some of the earlier games, you have like Magic Wizard Pope wielding the fucking like apple of Eden, shooting like golden laser beams at you. So like, take everything with a grain of salt. And then the moment like, oh, I can't imagine like a black guy in fucking Japan, that's cannon breaking. Well, it's like, no, look at these fucking older games, dude. There's fucking Wizard Pope shooting beams at you. Like, relax. But it's like the whole thing with like Assassin's Creed Shadows is like they're like essentially changing history so it fits the narrative for their game.
There is plenty of historical basis for the depiction of Black Samurai Yasuke in the game. Just after Summer Games Fest finished, the anti-woke gamers found a new target, a report at IGN which credibly and comprehensively lays out the history of sexism at the developer of the up-and-coming Planet of the Apes meets Sekiro action game, Black Myth Wukong.
Oh, bro, this whole fucking game, the whole thing, that this game is like, the thing with this game is that the dev that made this game got offered to do like some consultation shit by like Sweet Baby for like $7 million, and they're like, no, we're good. So then the fucking Sweet Baby people were like, oh no, these developers are all sexist because they said some like weird quotes that were like taken out of context and were purposely like mistranslated or whatever. And it's like, bro, what the fuck are we doing? You know, the Black Myth Wukong is essentially like the first video game version of a story called what was it, like Into the West or Journey into the West, like an old like Chinese story. You know, fucking Dragon Ball Z is based off of it. You know, they reference it in like Jackie Chan Adventures. What else? There's like a ton of other like cartoons and like pop culture shows that reference Journey into the West type characters with like the Monkey King.
The response, surprise, was to go after the woman who wrote it, while also spinning a ludicrous conspiracy theory that IGN was blackmailing the developer. You can go down a rabbit hole of quite jaw-dropping horribleness on any one of these manufactured conspiracies, but take it from me, it's really not worth it.
Bro, I foresee Black Myth Wukong absolutely killing it when it comes out.
The reactionary underlayer of gaming's enthusiast media, which makes its home mostly on X and YouTube, does not actually have the slightest impact on how games are made, or indeed which games are made. Look at Gamergate. What did it actually achieve? Games are more diverse than they were 10 years ago, not less. I saw more non-white male faces and characters in this year's spat of Summer Games Fest trailers and demos than at any previous time in almost the 20 years
yeah, and that's true. Like when I watched that Summer Games Fest, I quickly realized what was happening.
I've been covering games, but they can still make people's lives online hell for a while. I know this because I've been through it several times. It's crazy that you can say something or at least think something in the right direction, but then be completely wrong about it, and it's because, again, she's looking at it through an incredibly narrow lens. Throwing context and nuance aside in the face of being able to shadow box those perceived demons that are across the aisle. Musk was undoubtedly beating the drum of division for engagement purposes. The guy's a content creator more than anybody else. There is tons of examples of people that are like him. But why are there so many people that are finding themselves agreeing with these posts about Assassin's Creed Shadows? Tell me which is more believable, that the vast majority of white male gaming audiences that you perceive don't want black characters in games? Or is it because Ubisoft has been shoveling garbage out for years now, raising their prices to absurd levels?
Yeah, that he's hitting on like the right notes this time, bro. The base version of this game is $70. The next version is what, like 100 or it's 110, and then the next version is like 130. Like, what are we doing? Paying 2 times the price of the base game. I highly doubt it's 2 times the content for your value of money. I highly doubt that shit, dude.
Monetizing everything possible, hasn't innovated, and now seems to be using diversity to market a game that everybody knows will be just as repetitive and unoriginal as the prior. All well-adjusted humans.
I hope not. I hope it's a good game, because every Assassin's Creed bro and their grandmother has been clamoring for an Assassin's Creed to take place in Japan, because it's just a cool-ass environment. Samurais and ninjas.
That see the direction that all forms of media have been going in lately, see the main character isn't Japanese, and say, huh. Again, extreme positions don't gain traction unless there are issues that are pushing people from the middle to one side. Now, with that said, I agree with her statement on ludicrous conspiracy theories. With so many people that are out there grifting on both sides of these issues that are making it difficult for you to want to be able to agree with either side because you know that they're going to have some wacko theory that's connected to it, Those that are on extreme opposing sides can't agree on something, otherwise they're going to look like they've changed sides. Like Keza, I don't believe that there was an attempted $7 million extortion conspiracy when it.
Oh, so what? Like, I saw that article, and what? So now we're saying that it wasn't a thing? It either was or it wasn't a thing. I have no idea whether or not that was true. Show me the evidence.
When it comes to Black Myth Wukong, as there is no proof or mention of that anywhere. I mean, look at how many people grifted off of attaching Sweet Baby Incorporated's name to their YouTube titles, articles, and tweets in regards to whatever company allegedly perpetrated this extortion.
Ooh.
However, at the
Like, if you're a game developer and you just have like more than 2 brain cells, and you see the heat that other game companies are catching when they discover that their game has consulted with Sweet Baby or other consultation companies that do essentially the same thing, why would you utilize them? Why would you even take that chance?
the exact same time, she completely ignores the cultural differences and the intentional mistranslations conducted regarding the interview with Black Myth Wukong's developer and the garbage level of sensational journalism on the side of IGN, because they cannot cede any ground.
Let me see. Let me go back. Okay. Indie souls like Black Myth Wukong has seen widespread acclaim since its reveal, but the studio behind it, Game Science, has long been plagued with accusations of sexism that reflect wider issues in the Chinese games industry. I'll report at this link. And this is IGN, the IGN account, official IGN Twitter. And these motherfuckers got community noted. Bang. The sexist quotes, shown in the article are poorly translated. Accurate translations show the statements being vulgar, but definitely not sexist. IGN reporting on these fallacious, unverified claims as though their fact is yellow journalism, which CNs were made to combat. Community notes. Okay. I have no idea what yellow journalism. I take it that that's like a bad thing. Like yellow belly. You know, like back in the day, like Wild Wild West. Like, are you yellow? Boy, you a coward? I don't fucking know. Community mates. Yeah. So they said some dumb shit. And they get community noted. So go fuck yourself, IGN. How do you let that fly?
Conducted regarding the interview with Black Myth Wukong's developer and the garbage level of sensational journalism on the side of IGN, because they cannot cede any ground to those who disagree with them. Plenty of journalists do this, ignoring the elephant in the room because they can't be caught agreeing with the opposition. Not long ago, Paul Tossi of Forbes wrote an article talking about the issues that journalists face, and he dismissed the concern of players by saying, there is a public war against games journalism by, in part, the anti-woke crowd who believes the progressive-leaning outlets are going extinct because of alleged activist takes.
Oh, really?
Even when there are clear cases of many propagandized positions in today's gaming media.
Yeah.
When you
it seems like a lot of lies are just being spewed left and right. Like this side's lying about some dumb shit. Other side lying about some dumb shit, and like me in the middle, I'm like, I don't fucking know what to believe anymore. God damn it. Trying to consume a little bit of entertainment is too goddamn difficult. It is.
Dismiss or ignore the elephant in the room, it doesn't make it smaller. That's not how this works. No wonder gamers could come to the conclusion that there is a concerted effort in the games industry to have this propagandized position, this plan that they have in place that they're using against a developer in the industry, when every other journalist that's out there goes out and either hand waves the entire issue or ignores it entirely.
And if this is the case with just this one single developer, it kind of makes you think, are there other game developers that are going through this? That are maybe trying to consult with a consultation company and then like maybe not going into like well, I don't know, like is it a contract that you have to like engage in, like, oh, like, and then one of the stipulations is like, oh, you you will consult with us, and when we consult with you, you are mandated to put our opinions and characters into the game. Like, if that's the case, well then just like I'm out. If that's like part of the contract or whatever, like fuck that.
Or cosigns for it. That's the case that we have with this article from The Guardian. She quite literally cosigns on what the girl had said in the article, even though
Somebody should leak one of these like contracts of like any of these companies, like a Sweet Baby contract. Like there's a couple other companies, I forgot the names of them, but there's other ones out there. Let me see the stipulations.
it's already been shown that it was mistranslated and also misrepresented in their article that they made. So, of course, players are going to come to the conclusion of that. And what that does is it only serves to embolden the position of the players that held the belief that, well, there might have been an extortion fee to this because, well, if you're going to ignore this blatant lie that's attached to it, well, then chances are you're lying about the other thing too. That's the conclusion that people are going to come to. They are the ones that are creating this issue for themselves. Stop being so reactionary. Stop paying attention to what people are saying and ask why people are saying these things. Be proactionary. The article concludes with, I was running the UK branch of Kotaku when Gamergate kicked off, and I had a front row seat to their harassment tactics, which included sending the most disgusting threats imaginable through all online channels available to them, trying to get me fired by emailing game publishers and my bosses with dossiers of my professional misdeeds and journalistic failings. Read, writing about video games from a feminist perspective. Searching for me and my colleagues' real addresses and phone numbers and family members and posting those details to their subreddits if they found them.
Jesus Christ, like you're fucking like doxing people's fucking phone numbers and shit. And like what? Real addresses? And, bro, that's fucking doxing right there. Like get the fuck out of here.
And putting them together in unhinged Google Docs with links drawn between social justice warrior journalists and developers. One of these mad documents briefly appeared in a recent documentary about 4chan, prompting several of my friends to text me a screenshot asking me if I knew I was a figure in an old alt-right conspiracy theory. Unfortunately, yes, I did. It's happened again a few times since, for various reasons. Unfortunately, dealing with online mobs is a part of the job for many journalists and indeed game developers these days. And despite all of the shit that I've dealt with over the years as a woman covering video games, I'm still rather glad that I don't write about politics. But I know exactly how awful it can feel when they mobilize against you, especially if it's the first time.
Jesus.
They'll search for whatever they think is the least flattering image of you on Google Images, use it as a cutout for a YouTube thumbnail, and then rant for 10 minutes over screenshots of your articles.
I mean, I don't really condone this fucking behavior either. This is like kind of bonehead and like, I don't know. It just seems like stupid. Like, even if you're trying to like, even if you think you're like righteously justified trying to take a stance against like some woke journalist, like that is not the way to like purposely like dox people. Or accidentally dox. You know, it doesn't fucking matter. Stop like searching people up and like leaking all their fucking like personal information.
They'll tweet prominent people in games trying to get them to publicly discredit you. They'll set their followers on you. It's not hard to meet their manufactured rage with a lot of genuine rage of your own. It's tempting to dunk on these people endlessly, but outrage fuels outrage, especially now, when there's literal money to be made posting inflammatory.
I mean, bro, like, for me, it's not even like outrage. Like, how am I gonna get outraged at fucking entertainment? Like, oh, wow, my favorite IP is bad now. Okay, I'll go find a new IP. Like, that's as simple as it is for me, dude. Like, that's it. Like, oh, Halo sucks. Witcher sucks. What else? The Lord of the Rings fucking sucks. The new Game of Thrones little series sucks. What else? You know, I'm just like, oh, I won't fucking pay attention. I don't need to fucking go on a holy crusade to like ruin somebody else's life. Like, bro, just fucking stop paying attention to their dumb shit.
Inflammatory nonsense on X or YouTube. If Gamergate proved anything, it's that nobody has to pander to rage-baiting toxic gamers or even listen to them. That said, I still don't think there's been enough public pushback against this flavor of online abuse from the biggest publishers in games over the past few months. When the consultancies they work with, the journalists and critics that cover them, and even some of their own developers have been caught in an online shitstorm. Take it from me, vocal support means a lot.
Okay.
This goes without saying, but none of this should happen to anyone. There is zero justification for it whatsoever. Nobody should ever be publicly or privately attacked for any of their opinions. Criticized.
Yeah, it's just a fucking opinion. For fuck's sakes. So what, you don't like some other dude opinion? Who give a shit? I don't like fucking like crossplay and aim assist and controller. I still gotta, that still exists in a lot of fucking modern day FPSs, you know?
Yes, but going after their personal information is just weird. However, notice how generalized it becomes and how easy it is to see plain old criticism lobbed in with online psychos. I'm now included in them because I'm sitting here ranting over screenshots of her article, though I have nothing to do with the crowd of people that she's so vehemently against. Moreover, calling for big players in the industry to come out publicly on your side only serves to validate the concerns of biases in favor of better reviews and more flattering articles about these different companies' games. The industry speaking out against the crazies doesn't make the crazies go away. It adds another plot point on their graph and another justification for them to come after you. Look, the fact of the matter is your fight is won. Games are more inclusive than they ever have been before. That oppression, once perceived, has now dissipated. Keza said it herself in the article.
Well, here's a question. If, for like, the last couple years, there have been like a more and more like quote unquote woke games and shit, when do you think it'll stop? Will they stop? Will they be happy? Will they be satisfied? Or do they have to, inject their fingers into every single solitary IP that you once loved? Like, when does it stop?
When commenting, talking about the diversity.
I mean, if that's the case, then they're just going to do it to like every single game. I mean, shit, as much as I like video games, I mean, shit, I could go get a different hobby.
Of characters that she saw during Summer
Don't
Games
bother
Fest.
me.
We all saw it. But what were the most popular and talked about games of the upcoming releases from Summer Games Fest? Gears of War and Monster Hunter Wilds, games that are fueled by that male power fantasy that she talked about. And why is that? Well, that's because that audience is now becoming underserved as game developers are grifting off of the victory of inclusivity.
Yeah.
Again, stop paying attention to what players are saying and ask why players are feeling a certain way.
It's so funny when he says that, like, with the advent of all the woke games, the few companies that don't bend the knee to these consultation companies, they only stand to gain so much, because there's like an empty void for that, like he said, like that masculine power fantasy thing, Warhammer 40K, Black Myth Wukong, Gears of War, Phantom Blade Zero, Monster Hunter Wild. Like, all these games are gonna absolutely demolish.
I feel like people are too busy fighting a war that's already won, cheering on these developers while they are making more games about what a character is rather than who a character is. Ironically, the character part of the equation of game development has been thrown out the window for how a character looks and identifies instead. These games lack soul and purpose. Notice how a developer of a...
And if that's the case, and they are making games for that audience, where is that audience? Where are they showing up? Where's all the support? Where are they when it comes time to like support their favorite woke game? Where are they? It's the same joke that, like, I heard this joke from Bill Burr. What was it? It was like a long drawn out joke about the WNBA. It is entirely subsidized by the regular NBA. And why is it not doing so good? It's because women are not showing up for the WNBA. the audience that it was built for are literally not showing up. So now what? Your target audience is not coming. They're not here to save you. So what are you going to do? And even there are NBA players that show up to these games to support them. So what happens when the target audience isn't like showing up? Then what are you going to do?
Great game with a diverse cast of characters or with a strong female lead doesn't need to grift off of social issues. They know what they made. They know that they don't need to make a character that players can identify with. They need to make a character that players want to play as, want to be, and want to know more about. The conclusion that I've come to is that by ignoring existing audiences, these folks are radicalizing those audiences. Just recently, I saw an interview that popped up where the people that are in charge of Star Wars basically came out and said that they're ignoring existing audiences or ignoring the angry fans, the loud fans.
Oh yeah, he's probably referencing those Twitter videos that came out about the VP or whatever, like just outing himself and like the practices they do with like certain hiring practices that are like unethical.
Because, well, they're trying to create a new audience and they don't care what they think. But ignoring the people that got you to where you are in the first place doesn't make a lot of sense, especially when
I say go try to cultivate a new audience. Go try. See how many of them show up. You think you're still going to make like hundreds and millions and billions of dollars with your new audience? Good luck.
When those people are as invested as they are, as long as they've been invested, and yeah, they're going to be mad. Of course they're going to be mad. Why does that confuse you that they would be upset? Recently, what I've noticed is within video games is that the quality of the game itself, the quality of how fun it is, how interesting it is, how great the story is, all of those things are taking a backseat to game character identities. And that doesn't mean that inclusivity and diversity is bad. It just means that they're not putting priorities where they should be. They're not dividing those priorities equally. And as such, they're not making games that players are going to enjoy, players are going to love, that are going to be successful, that are going to be remembered.
Yeah, like I said before, you can include all the DEI shit you want. Make the characters fucking interesting instead of boring. Make the gameplay good. Make the story good. And I'll play your fucking game.
And that's a problem. And especially when it's as widespread as it's been growing lately. And when you have more games that are coming out there that are grifting off of these social issues, yeah, players are going to start looking at games with female protagonists and different diverse character backgrounds and say, wow, this is probably going to suck. And I hate to say it, but lately it's been more times than not, because think about it. The vast majority of games that come out every year, how many of them are actually really good?
Not
only
a lot.
Very few that we all play.
Yeah.
So yeah, the vast majority of those are going to be hit or miss. And
yeah, and this is true. Most people, and this is including live service games, most people are playing less and less games, less and less variety of games, and spending more time on a single game. So then what are you going to do when all these hundreds of companies try to come out with their woke games, trying to vie for the player base's money and time? What do you think is going to happen? You think they're going to like just jump ship? It's like, I can play this free to play game, or I can go back and play an old game, or am I going to spend money and take a chance with this new game? I'll probably just save money.
There's a lot of misses that are out there, and you're going to start to put plots on a graph and connect the dots. And next thing you know, well, this is the thing that I'm seeing that's the trend that's making these games worse. And that's the conclusion that a lot of these players are going to end up coming to. I don't really know exactly what the solution to this is. Especially
one solution is just you need more skilled people making better games. Go back to school. Learn how to make a story. Learn how to fucking make a better game system. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Be a better storyteller. Make better characters. Come up with some more engaging gameplay. Figure it out.
Because I think a lot of the people that are in these positions in a lot of these game companies, media companies in general, movies, television, whatever, I think a lot of it is actually like nepotism more than anything else. Like people,
You're dropping the N word. You're dropping the nep word, nepotism. Let me see. What is, or actually, just define nepotism. The practice among those with power or influence of favoring relatives, friends, or associates, especially by giving them jobs. You gotta know a guy. You gotta know somebody. You gotta network. It's not what you know, it's who you know. All of this bullshit.
people that got into positions of like high power that don't deserve it whatsoever and have no idea what they're doing. And the only thing that they can do is the one original.
Bro, I need some fucking nepotism in my life. I need some bros to like help me out. Come on, man. If we go back like a couple 100 years, Italian bros were a minority. Okay, come on. Help me out.
Idea that they think is original, which is doing everything that they think everybody else is doing, which is making their games more inclusive, and they're just focusing on that because that helps to distract from everything else. I do genuinely think there's a lot of people that are out there that are using it as a shield to be able to block themselves from criticism. I do think that. And if that's not what they're doing, then they're just bad at their jobs in general. So there's that. But yeah. Anyway, tell me what you guys think about this.
Yeah.
I don't know where things are going. There's a lot of games to look forward to next year. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what we're going to do after the year after that. Maybe we'll just go back and play some old games.
Anyway, thank you guys for watching this long. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments. Dislike the video if you don't like my points. Like the video if you do. You don't have to watch me any longer if you don't. And yeah, that's all I got. Anyway, stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. I will see you guys next time.
Nice.
Peace.
Family. 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 Family.
I am sick and...
See, I knew that outro. Oh, man. That shit's so funny. But, yeah, I mean, Legendary Drop, he's just spitting. He's cooking. I mean, make better games. That's all we want. That's not, like, I'm not asking for the world. I'm just asking for, like, a better game. A better character. That's it. But good stuff, man. Very engaging video. I like it. I want to see more. But, yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, later.